welcome to my room from a different angle. Welcome to my spooky bookshelf. Some of my tarot cards are not there because Margaret has them. I thought that I would do something a bit different. I thought that I would throw some stuff against the wall and see what sticks. So I'm going to discuss what I read between January and March this year. It is now the start of April, so I might start doing monthly reading updates after this. I've read a lot this year so far. I've read 21 books so far. It's not always going to be like that. I'm not going to win any awards for reading the most books. Some months it might just be that I've read one book. Some months I might read many. But I do like to read. I read fairly consistently and it's something that I really enjoy doing. So I thought that I might share what I've read so far in the year 2025. Hey, I think I say this all the time. My dog is having a wild one downstairs. Also, if you can see any of my bed, I've tried to angle it so that you can't see my bed. If you can see my bed, avert your gaze. It's been stripped. I put fresh bedding on yesterday, and then this morning she got into my room whilst I was asleep and she pooped on my floor, and then she ran in that poop, and then she jumped on my bed and just was running all over my bed. So my bed is being washed for the second time in less than 24 hours. So, hey, don't look over there. Don't look over there. Avert your gaze. Okay, so the first set of books that I read this year, it's a series. They are on my shelf over there. I might do a quick cut to, but I didn't want to get them all down and hold each book individually and be like, I read this one, because they're all part of the same series. I read all of the Dragon Age books. The books are The Stolen Throne, The Calling, Asunder, The Masked Empire, The Last Flight. Then there is a short story selection called Tevinter Nights, and then there is 2 comic compilations, one that is just called The First 5 Graphic Novels and one that is called Wraiths of Tevinter. So I read all of those. Do you know what? So I've read a lot of books that are from like movies and TV shows and stuff. Like when I was younger, I really liked reading the Charmed books. I loved the Pokemon books. The Alien franchise, I've read like the Shadow Archive, I think it's called. X-Files books. So World of Warcraft, big one. Read quite a lot of Warcraft books. So I love a book from a series or a movie. And 90% of the time, they're not that great. Sometimes they can be quite fun, but a lot of times they do this thing where they miss out bunches of information from the book because they presume that you know it from the game, and I'm certain that 99% of people do, but I still like to have it in the book as well. I like a fleshed out book, and I love Critical Role, but one that's a bad example of that, I think, is the 9 Lives of Lucian? Just a whole section, like the whole Mollymauk bit, not there. Again, you're reading it, you're a fan of Critical Role, you know what happened with Mollymauk, but I think I would have liked a little bit more of what was going on with Mollymauk. Anyway, the Dragon Age books don't really do that. They're really, really good, particularly the first 2, Stolen Throne and The Calling. They could be standalone. They could not be Dragon Age novels. It wouldn't have made a difference. There wasn't anything in there that you couldn't have just understood. Like, you didn't really need to understand the world of Dragon Age. The only bit maybe is sometimes when they're talking about the Darkspawn, but it does a pretty good job of explaining them. So even if you've not played to be fair, I've only played Veilguard and some Inquisition. I haven't played the other ones because Origins will not work on my computer, and I want to play them the right way. I want to play them all the way through. So I haven't played them all. And I love them. I feel like they give really Wheel of Time vibes. I wouldn't be surprised if the creators of Dragon Age weren't big Wheel of Time fans, because it just gives me that kind of vibe. But yeah, fantastic, really good. My favourite was probably Asunder because I just love Cole, and so it was nice to see Cole in there. The Tevinter Nights was also great. That's the short stories. I read that after I'd played Veilguard, because Veilguard was what got me into Dragon Age. I wish more than anything that I'd read that book before, because there's loads of the characters that end up in Veilguard into Winter Nights, which was released before, like long before the game, I think. I think it was released in like 2017. So it would have been really nice playing the game and having characters that I'd read about pop up in the game. But it was still nice the other way around. Like, you know, Emeric's in there a couple of times. Lucanus is in there. Nev. It's good. It's cute. It's fun. I can recommend the Dragon Age books. I think they were all really, really good. Next, I had Rouge by Mona Awad. I'd already read Bunny. Bunny is great. If you like weird fiction, Bunny is fantastic, I think. And Rouge was really, really good as well. I think I preferred Bunny just because of how unique Bunny is. I'd never read anything like that before. Rouge is about a woman called Belle, whose mother has recently died. Belle lives in Canada, where she's from. I believe they're a French-Canadian family. And she goes to LA, where her mother was living, to like wrap up her estate. She discovers that her mum was going to this weird spa, and she starts getting offered free treatments at this weird spa. And it's just kind of a descent, and it's about beauty. It's about how women are kind of seen as competition for each other. And then there's like, it's also very much about this mother-daughter relationship, because they were estranged. Belle always felt that her mother was more beautiful. It does speak on race quite a bit, because Belle was mixed race. Belle is half Egyptian as well as white Canadian, French Canadian, I think. So she always kind of looked at her mum's whiteness, whereas her mum looked at her exoticness, and they were like envious of each other. And it's about coming to terms with that, coming to terms with yourself, who you are, your relationships with other people, in this case a mother-daughter. And it's surprisingly sad. The ending is quite sad, but also really entertaining. I really liked this one. Next, I read The Hole by Hiroko Oyamada. It's just a little short one, little short guy. It was only 92 pages long. Oh, no, even less than that. No, it was 92 pages long. It is about a woman who has moved to her husband's like kind of childhood home area for his job. So he's out all day. She's at home. She lives right next door to her mother-in-law. And it's very strange, very surreal. It's just kind of I'd say a slice of life. But weird things are happening. She falls into a hole, which is why it's called The Hole. I interpreted that as she falls into like an Alice in Wonderland hole. Spoilers, it's not really that. There's this weird little creature running around, which is what enticed her to the hole. There's like weird children, a weird guy. I don't want to say a lot because I feel like it's really difficult, because it's so short, it's difficult to describe the plot and not just say everything that happens. I have heard really great things about this author. I know that The Factory is supposed to be fantastic. I will definitely read more from this author. However, I just didn't enjoy this, and I can't pinpoint precisely why. I can't tell you what it is that I didn't like about it. And upon reflection, I like it more. It's one of those books that at the time I was a bit bored reading, but then the more I think about it, the more I quite like it, but not enough to give it a second go. So I don't not recommend it. It just wasn't for me, and I'm glad it was short because I got a bit bored. Next was another short one. It is The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers. I don't think this is the full King in Yellow. I read it all and I presumed that it was, but then I googled it and I found, so it's a series of short stories within a very small book. I think that there's more short stories by this author under The King in Yellow that wasn't included in this anthology, and I would have liked to have seen all of them if that is the case. But it is, I really like this. I like this style of writing slightly. I don't know when this was released. Early 1900s, late 1800s. I like that era, weirdly. I was a very macabre little child who loved like Charles Dickens, and I loved Black Beauty, the Water Babies, things like that. So I find that style of writing quite nostalgic, so I did enjoy that. The short stories are all linked. They're all strange, and they're linked quite tenuously by a book called The King in Yellow, and people read this book and they go mad. Not every single short story in this is about somebody who has read the book. Sometimes they're just aware of it. Sometimes other people have read it and that's what influences them. Sometimes it's just on a shelf and it's mentioned. So the link is quite tenuous between them. I would say it's a little bit... Oh, I'd hate to say Lovecraftian. I'd hate to say Lovecraftian. I'm not going to say Lovecraftian. A little bit cosmic horror. A little bit something's going on beyond the scope of what we understand. And it's not Lovecraftian. Cosmic. And it has some really cool kind of... I mean, listen, I don't know if you can tell by my vibe. I love just something a bit spooky. And it's a bit spooky, again, because it's so short and it's short stories. It's another one I can't really describe in too much detail. I don't think this one would be for everyone though. Sorry, there is so much happening right outside that I'm certain will be getting picked up by this microphone. So this seems disjointed and choppy. It's because it is, because I have to keep stopping and starting. But yes, this one, I don't think I would recommend this to everybody. Not that it's like too spooky or too difficult to understand or too difficult to read. I just don't think that every single person would enjoy this book, but you could say that about any book, to be honest. The next book that I read, I should have Googled how to pronounce this author's name before I started this. Apologies to, I mean, I'm aware that the author is long since passed, but apologies to anybody who has this name. I will put it on the screen. This is completely my bad for not doing a quick Google on how to pronounce this author's name, but the book is called The Delta of Venus. Now, I didn't know what this was going to be, and this is so my bad. I had seen a lot of quotes by this author and they always seem so lovely, so poetic. And one of my New Year's resolutions this year was to get into poetry because I don't like poetry, but I want to be a poetry girly. And I knew that this wasn't poetry, but I saw this like beautiful, flowery language and I thought, I'd like that. That's great. I would like to read something with that beautiful poetry language. And then I did do a preliminary check and I saw that it was erotic fiction and I was like, that's fine. I've read A Court of Thorns and Roses or Roses and Thorns. I didn't like it, but like I don't have a problem with erotic fiction. It's just not my bag. But I thought, hey, I'm trying to get into poetry. Let's read this. Hey, trigger warning for everything. Trigger warning for everything that happens, anything that can happen to a person that you might think within the erotic fiction genre. It happens. All the bad stuff, even the ones that you think, probably not that one, that's probably in there. And the first chapter, the worst out of all of them. The first chapter, if I hadn't paid real money for this book, which again, that's another problem of mine, that's on me. But I bought it on Kobo. If I hadn't paid money for this book, I would have read that first chapter and not read the rest of it. The rest of it wasn't as bad for the most part, it wasn't as bad as the very first chapter. But very first chapter, hey, it's so bad, I can't even tell you what was in that chapter. And I don't think with a clear conscience I can say go read it, because a lot of people aren't going to like it. I'm not a person with triggers myself. I can read pretty much everything. I don't really need a trigger warning for things. However, I do wish that I just had a heads up. I thought I was about to be reading some poetry-esque, beautiful bit of prose, and I was hit with noncery in the very first chapter. Make of that what you will. I can't recommend that book. I just can't. The next book was a palate cleanser after that one. It's just a really sweet and simple. It's called The Ghost Cat. This was gifted to me when I left my previous job. This was part of my farewell gift. It's really cute. It is just about my dog chewed it. Can you see? Can you see? She saw that there was a cat in it and she wanted to destroy. It's just a cat. It's a cat who dies. Literally chapter 1. Hey, trigger warning, animal death. It's cute though. It's fine. You'll be okay, I think. Unless you've recently lost a pet, you'll probably be okay, because it is quite heartwarming. So the cat unfortunately dies, gets sent to cat hell, I think. just get sent to this weird and scary place for a poor little cat where there's like a big cat that seems to be Cat God. And Cat God's like, you can go back and be a ghost, basically. So he has a further 8 lives because he's lived 1. 2 in which he stays, because his first life he stayed in one location, so that was 1. 2 in which he stays, 3 in which he strays, and 3 in which he plays. So the last 3 he's a poltergeist. Middle 3 he goes wandering around Edinburgh, but for the first 2 he stays in the same house that he lived in, and he kind of sees it throughout the years, sees it changing. And I think he starts in that house each life anyway, so throughout all of his lives he sees the changes, he sees the people that he loved in life, he kind of follows them on their lives. It is quite sad, but not in a... I don't like sad books, but it isn't sad in a devastating kind of way. And yeah, it's just cute. It was a palate cleanser, not very long, easy read. Sweet little palate cleanser after The Delta of Venus. Next, I read Feast While You Can by Michaela Clements and Anjuli Datta. This was so fun. I think it's set in Italy. Small Italian town in the mountains. Lovely. A little bit backwards, but getting better. The main character is part of a family that's very well respected in the area, and on their property is a big hall in which the family legend says a monster lives in the hall. This girl has a big brother whose ex-girlfriend has come to visit. The ex-girlfriend is a lesbian. The main character is also a lesbian. Monster comes out of hall, attaches itself to main character. The only thing that can save them? Industrial strength lesbian sex. Let's go. It was really fun. It was really fun. Again, sad in places. There is some triggers that I would recommend maybe checking out if you need to. For example, there's animal death, a lot of family stuff, not Delta of Venus style family stuff, nothing like that. But yeah, just really fun. Just a weird monster. And there is a twist, and you do find out quite a bit about the monster, and you come to understand it. And the ending, I actually quite liked. At the time, again, this was another one where I was a bit like, oh, okay. Because it's not, I can't say that it's a super triumphant ending, but it's quite a fun ending. I wish that I could say more about the ending specifically, but I shan't in case you read it. Very fun, very unique, I think. The way that this monster works is quite unique. Creepy in parts. I wouldn't say scary at all, but creepy in parts. And then the last book I have is a non-fiction. It is called Mirage Men, A Journey in Disinformation, Paranoia and UFOs. I am a big UFO girl. I don't know if you can see my shelf. Probably not. Wait, I'm leaving. Goodbye. I have a bunch of stuff on aliens and UFOs right here. Can you see that? Can you see that? I've got stuff on magic too. I'm not a skeptic. There's no point in me lying to you. This book is slightly skeptical, I would say. Well, it is skeptical. The main author does have a belief in UFOs, but he's far more journalistic and scientific than little old me over here. It's kind of mostly about this one gentleman called Rick Doty, but it's not just about him. It's the wider thing is about the American government's involvement in UFOs, the Air Force, the US Air Force's involvement in UFOs, and it's fascinating. I already was very much of the belief that hey, I'm not from America, and I don't want to seem like I'm going like, oh, the American, I mean, right now the American government, there's no denying that the current American government, hey, definitely not good. But I don't want to appear to be sitting here and being like, oh, the American government, and acting like the British government is great. That's not what I mean to do. However, I don't think that the British government has the scope and the resources to do what the American government does. I don't think our government's any better. I think we probably would if we could, but I don't think that we have like an MK Ultra, a full MK Ultra. We've probably got mini projects equally as bad, but the type of stuff that the American government does, I think, is kind of beyond what our government is capable of, because we don't have the resources that they do. So I always have been of the opinion that there is a lot of misinformation spread by the American government. I'm not a full conspiracy theorist. Generally speaking, I consider myself a fun conspiracy theorist. Like, I just like the Bigfoots, the stuff like that. That's what I like. But I think there is what this book kind of brings up is that a lot of various US government bodies, such as the CIA, but predominantly the US Air Force, encouraged UFO stories, which makes a lot of sense. I'm minimizing it. Obviously, this book goes in way more detail than I am now. It makes a lot of sense that if they're working on potentially secretive new aircraft, that they might want to encourage UFO reports to cover up their own new aircraft that they're, flying out there. So it's about how they not only encouraged UFO reports, but also really, really messed with people involved in the UFO community's heads, to the point that there was at least one gentleman that was literally just driven insane and ended up in a mental institute because of misinformation that was being fed to him. So it's more than just UFOs in the sky, it's also a sense of paranoia that they have put in the UFO community. Presumably, again, if people look at people who are talking about UFOs and see, oh, well, this guy was a spokesperson and he ended up in a mental institute, it makes sense that people would then go, the people reporting about UFOs are crazy. And then when stuff gets reported, before, people who didn't believe in aliens coming from outer space might go, well, why is all this weird aircraft flying around? Now they might just go, people are making it up. So it makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm super minimizing it. If you're interested in that type of thing, I would recommend reading this. It isn't a conspiracy book by any means. This is a journalist who wrote this, and a lot of what is in here isn't speculation. It's facts. It's things that have since been admitted by, like, the US Air Force has admitted that they did this, or there is individuals involved who can be proven to have worked for those bodies, who might no longer work for them, but for some reason still saying this stuff. So it's like, do we believe, Rick Doherty when he's talking about these aliens from Serpa, I believe the planet was, that he's seen these aliens. This guy who used to work for the Air Force is like, yeah, I've seen them. No, I've seen the aliens. And this journalist is going, did he really see those aliens, or is he still doing the disinformation even after he's left the Air Force? So yeah, interesting. Again, I don't know if I can recommend it if you're not super into UFOs or into, kind of finding out more about what the US government's up to. I can't recommend it. But if you are into those things, it's a very, very interesting read. And that is my wrap up for the year so far. I hope you enjoyed hearing about what I read. I do love reading, so I'm more consistently reading than gaming, so who knows what that might mean. I think that this month, April, is unintentionally going to be a big horror month, because I'm currently reading a horror book. Spoilers for next month. I am reading Hex by Thomas Auld Huvelt. That's not right. Didn't say that correctly. Maybe I'll remember to do my research by the next time. I do already have some opinions about this. I do have some hot takes about this book thus far, and it is not even finished. I have 120 pages left. And then I have 2 other books that I won't say on here because I can't remember, because they're in a bag over there. And they're both horror books, so I think this might be a horror month. So stay tuned for that if I end up recording it. Yes, thank you very much for watching. I am doing this after I have finished the Faith series, but I think this is going to be uploaded before the Faith series has all gone up. So, what happens? I know, but you don't. Yes, thank you very much for watching, and fare thee well.